Happy Valentine's Day and welcome to Q&A Wednesday. It's that time again. Love this. I really do. If you've got some good questions, drop a comment below because that's where I get my best ideas is from you guys. So I really find it fascinating this time of year. Everybody's kind of into their New Year's resolutions. They've either given up or they are, kind of trying to figure out what they're not quite doing right. And so I really want to quickly talk to you about diets. I'm actually writing an ebook on this right now. And I find it fascinating that everybody thinks that in order to lose weight, they have to actually go on a diet. And so I want to talk about that, which diet is right for you. Because those of you that know me know I'm probably going to say none, right? Because, I really do find it fascinating. It's an interesting industry that's come up with all of these ploys to get you to spend money on things that are kind of ridiculous, Now I get it, if you know what the rules are and you can follow the rules, it makes it a whole lot easier to quote unquote lose weight. The downside is that, and we'll talk about this in a minute, most diets are very short-term in nature. They're designed, hey Michael, and happy Valentine's Day to you too. They're really designed to, of course, everybody wants to lose weight quick, right? First of all, our focus is completely wrong. If you've listened to any of my stuff before, you know that I'm not a big fan of weight loss because weight loss does not tell you enough information. It tells you the scale tells you what you weigh according to a sack of potatoes. That's the difference, but it doesn't tell you what that weight comes from. It doesn't tell you if the weight that you are losing is coming from fat, which of course is our goal, right? We're trying to get skinny, which is totally a four-letter word to me. I prefer lean. It doesn't tell you if that's water, which for, of course, the first week it is. When you are eating cleaner, you don't hold as much water in your system. So when they talk about that first few, 5-10 pounds as water weight, they're not kidding. It is. Your body just doesn't hold as much water. And if you think about the fact that a gallon of water weighs 8 pounds. Whenever I have a cheat meal or a free meal and I'm eating way more carbs than normal, especially if they're like crappy carbs, I retain a lot of water. I don't get on the scale the next day because I know that scale is going to make me not happy, right? And it does something to our heads. So, it's really a fascinating trend, hi Tina, that we put so much into the scale as to what that really means, and it just doesn't give you enough information. So, be careful what your goal is. I really don't find that a weight loss goal is appropriate for most people because, again, you can't determine what that comes from. I can lose 10 pounds real quick, but it's probably either going to be muscle or it's going to be water because all I have to do is stop eating sugar and my body goes, oh, hey, I don't need all this. So it makes a big difference. So let's talk a little bit about diets. Now, if you really look at the definition of a diet, all a diet means is something that you regularly eat and drink. That is the definition. However, we've kind of put a totally different connotation on that. When we think diet, we think a lot of things. We think restriction, we think sacrifice, we think low calorie, which again, if you watched my Q&A Wednesday 2 weeks ago, we talked about 1,200 calories, which is completely inappropriate for almost every human being. And again, we'll talk about that in a minute, but we think of it as something that's really painful to go through. It's not fun. And to be honest, it's not sustainable. Diets are not sustainable. When we think diet, we think short term. Here's the problem with that. Are you trying to lose weight or reach your goal just for the short term? Do you really want to bounce back to where you were before, maybe even plus some? That's really, at least for the people I know, that's not really what their goal is. I don't want to put all this time and effort into a really great goal, reaching it, and then bounce back to where I was before. So when you think diet, unfortunately, it's not long-term. We need to think more lifestyle versus diet. But here's my other problem with diets. So, of course, there's a bajillion of them out there, right? And I find it fascinating that we kind of rotate back through them and call them something different, such as, what keto is today is actually what the Atkins diet was starting in 1972. So it just kind of rolls back through and we find them trendy and they're very much fads. And of course, because we all want to lose weight instantaneously and get to where we want to be before we even put time and effort into it, we try literally everything that we possibly can to try and get to our goal. Unfortunately, as most of us have found, it's unsustainable. So, at 43 years old, I've probably tried, I can't even tell you how many different diets in my entire lifetime. I went on my first diet at age 12. My mother took me with her to Weight Watchers, and I just really remember having like a cheat meal the night before. And then I remember it being really difficult for multiple reasons. But, anytime where you find that you're restricting yourself, there's a couple things that come into play. Number one, there's a huge mental game that's going to go on. If you think, wow, I can never have a drink again. I can never have ice cream again. And some of the diets that are out there are so restrictive that if you even cheat once, you have to start all over again. What fun is that? I mean, and can you really live your life that way? Because if you think about it, whatever you do to get to your goal, you have to keep doing to maintain that. So if it's ridiculous, which most of them are, you're not going to stay there. So hence the reason why a lot of us yo-yo diet. And I did that for about 2 decades before I kind of finally figured it out. Because I really realized that it was a lifestyle. And for me, it was a huge learning process. What I learned through the whole situation was that, first of all, that I didn't know enough. They don't teach enough in schools about health and fitness, and that it needs to be baby steps. You can't tackle all of this in one day and expect to get to where you want to be, because you're going to get overwhelmed. Right? This is the whole reason I don't like New Year's resolutions, because we think, hey, I got 3 months to do these amazing things, and then I'm going to go back to the same stuff I did before, and it's going to stay. And science says that's just not going to happen. So keep that in mind. It really is about creating a lifestyle. And unfortunately, that's probably going to be at a slower progress than you really would like it to be. But that's because it needs to be sustainable. So I always have to remind people, it's not how quickly you take it off, it's how long you keep it off. And so, at this point, I went from 210 pounds, and now I kind of bounce up and down depending on where I'm at, because of course, as I compete or have competed, I have a growth cycle and a lean cycle, but it's predominantly healthy food. So I don't really necessarily diet. Now, when are diets appropriate? Okay, there is a time for diets. If you're already at a level where you kind of have health and nutrition down for the most part, you eat fairly clean, you're getting some cardio in there, you're doing some strength training. And ladies, yes, it is necessary to build some muscle. Get over it. And it's necessary to lift heavy. You can't build muscle on 5-pound weights, ladies. It just doesn't work. I might be bigger than the average woman, but if you saw how much food I ate and how I lift heavier than most guys, it takes a lot to put muscle on this body. You can't get bulky, so get over it. So if you're not doing a combination of those things, okay, and I just totally lost train of thought, but that's okay. That's because I'm watching everybody pop up at the bottom, and I'm all excited that people are on here. So, hey, Daniel. Getting to the right point, it really is about lifestyle and doing the right things that get your body where it needs to go. So in the interim, the 5 things you really kind of need to pay attention to, like I said, is doing some cardio, doing some strength training, eating correctly. And again, that's where we're talking about tonight, getting enough sleep. And then there's a whole element of mental and emotional health that we need to address as well, because anybody who's tried to diet, we all know that there's something that goes on in his head that really makes it difficult to get where we want to go. You have to retrain your brain. You have to fix your head before you can fix your body. So again, back to diet. So I'm just going to kind of bring up a couple of them. Really, what I don't love about them is that, first of all, they're obviously brought from someone who has decided, hey, let's make money on this idea. And great, that might have worked for them, but to think that cookie cutter diet or option is going to work for everybody is ridiculous. So a big part of it, like I said, is the restriction. For some of them, it's the overly lenient part of it that I find completely ridiculous, such as if it fits your macros. And I'm not against, there's a few things in each one of them that are completely appropriate. Like for if it fits your macros is kind of a whole thing that I already teach my people, that the calories, there is something to calories in, calories out, right? If you are putting more energy in the form of food into your body than you are burning, you're going to gain weight because your body's going to store it. If you burn more calories than you eat, you're going to, quote unquote, lose weight. To an extent, of course, we've talked about that your body does not know the difference between diet and starvation. So if your deficit is too large, if you've plateaued, you've really kind of come to that point where you're really struggling to lose anything, you're probably actually not getting enough calories. And of course, the biggest struggle with that is when they're clean calories, it's tough to get enough in volume. Even my guys talk about how hard that is. So, when it talks about if it fits your macros, my problem with that diet is that supposedly those macros should be able to come from anything you want. If it fits the macros, you should be able to eat it, which is a complete misconception, because if you think about the whole point, the American diet is the worst, right? Because the American diet is quick, convenient, boxed, processed food and junk full of additives, preservatives, chemicals, and it's already processed, which means that it's already been broken down to an extent. When is a calorie not a calorie? When it's processed food. Your body is more likely to absorb more of that calorie than when it comes to whole foods. So in the form of if it fits your macros, there's a huge difference between, say, ice cream or a Pop-Tart and an apple or sweet potatoes, right? One is a complex carb, has much more in the way of fiber, much more nutrients, and then you've got these empty calories that, they might taste great, but your body can't get any of the nutrients it needs out of it, plus it's already broken down and it gets hungry faster because it's like, I already burned through that, now I need something more. So now if you're using If It Fits Your Macros and you've pretty much cleaned up your diet, your nutrition, and you're actually eating healthy whole foods, not such a bad idea, because if you remember that the different micronutrients do different things. Protein builds and maintains muscle, carbohydrates, and especially complex carbs. Now there is a time and place for simple carbs, and even eating healthy and clean, you're going to get a few simple sugars in things like honey and fruit, even though limit your honey, guys. But then fats are necessary as well because they help run every process in your body. They help support your hormone levels. So you need all of those things. Now, any diet that tends to throw out one of those nutrients, I have a problem with, such as keto. That might work for some people. And honestly, the research shows that there is a small amount of people that it benefits very greatly. The original research was done on people with neurological disorders, such as kids with epilepsy. And actually, it was originally done by starving the patients, which I find kind of fascinating. But they found that more of a keto-style diet, by cutting out the carbohydrates, the body reacted the same by creating ketones. So the problem with that is I find it fascinating that people must think that all carbs are bad, because they're really not. Not all carbs are bad. If it's a complex carb, first of all, it's usually plant-based to some extent. It has nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that you can't get any other way, and they're high in fiber. So if you're cutting out that whole food group, you're actually voiding yourself of those nutrients that your body needs in order to be as healthy as it possibly can. So why we have to cut out, I tell people, don't cut out carbs, cut out the crap. There is a huge difference. Anything that is a processed carb that's high in starches, high fructose corn syrup, refined sugars, probably shouldn't be a regular staple in your diet. And of course, I'm talking diet as your regular meal plan. Those things should be cut out. So instead of keto, don't cut out the carbs, cut the crap. It makes a difference. Here's the problem too with keto is that, for anyone trying to build a significant amount of muscle or maintain a significant amount of muscle, and I'm sure that there's people out here that are going to argue with me, go ahead. I don't really care. It is difficult. Science has shown it's difficult to build and maintain a significant amount of muscle when you are voiding your body of the carbohydrates, because you're not allowing your body the energy resource that it needs to take the proteins to build the muscle. Now it has to take the proteins, break it down into glucose in order to fuel your body. So again, I just find, plus, you guys, it hasn't even been studied long-term. The current research shows that even keto at the end of 1 year, that the results from that diet, weight loss, whatever, are about the same as any other diet out there. So, long-term wise, it really is restrictive. And if you decide that you want to cheat, if you want to enjoy a piece of cake, you want a glass of wine, you've just taken yourself out of ketosis. So again, there's not enough research showing that long-term that it's a viable option. And there's also some definite downsides physically it's hard on your kidneys and your liver. There's just a lot there that people don't take into consideration when they're just thinking, I just want results. I want results right now. So anything from Google diets, Google the most popular diets. You're going to pop up quite a list. Paleo, Mediterranean, Whole30, 21-day fix. The works. There's all of these options. Instead of doing all these crazy things, first of all, I want you to think about, are you looking for something short term? Like I said, in some instances, that's appropriate. If you are a competitor getting on stage, if there is a wedding that you want to participate in, you want to look better in your dress, if you're going on a vacation and you want to look good in your bikini, to do somewhat of a small kind of a lean out is an okay thing, as long as you understand it's temporary and that you have to balance that, right? But to think that you can short term do these incredibly intense, drop all this weight and then be okay when you're finished and you go back to your normal habits, it's not going to happen. Your metabolism will drop to meet what you're doing in the lack of nutrients. And then when you overflood it with all these extra nutrients, because now you're eating all this garbage you ate before, what's going to happen? You bounce back plus some, right? And how many of us have not done that before? I think we all have. So here's my tips. Like I said, I just am not a fan of the word diet. I don't like the fact that it's not built for a long-term success. So here's what I want to talk about. Oh, and a couple of things just I wanted to, because I always make my notes, right? First of all, just because it worked for someone else doesn't mean it works for you. Now, I don't mean that. Most of the time we just see the short-term results. Somebody might drop 80 pounds real quick and do this dramatic change. That's great, and I applaud them, but I want to see what you look like 5 years from now. That's where I want to see the important part of the results is, were you able to maintain it? Was it a sustainable situation where, you're able to look good and feel good? It's not, guys, it's not just about looking good. Don't you want to feel good? Don't you want to have energy, be able to keep up with your kids? I do. I mean, that's my goal. I want to be the hottest grandma alive here. That's my goal. So here's my thoughts and tips on how to eat in a nutritional way that is not crazy. It's sustainable. And when I work with people, I literally work step by step, right? The first thing I usually tell them is, you guys got to drink more water, because it's the cheapest, easiest thing that you can do in order to flush your system, flush the toxins, clean yourself out. Your body is primarily made up of water. It's going to make your skin look better. It's going to help your energy level. There's just so many benefits, and it's so easy to do. Guys, we have unlimited water resources. We're not another country where, they have to trek miles and miles, and yes, it does exist, to get water. So why would we not benefit from something that's so simple as just turning on the faucet, right? Do remember that macros do matter. Because each of those nutrients do something different, you need to have some of them. Now, what percentage comes from each of those micronutrients is totally dependent upon your goals. If you're trying to build muscle, you actually need more carbs, because again, you're trying to not allow that protein to be used for energy source. If you're trying to lean out, you're probably going to eat a little bit more in the way of proteins, because it's a thermogenic nutrient. So, keep that in mind, that it depends on where you want to go with that. Now, that being said, I'm a huge fan of MyFitnessPal, only because I find it really important for people to track their food. If I ask you and you cannot tell me how many calories you eat, how many grams of protein that you eat, I'm going to tell you I can't even help you, because I don't know where you're at right now. I can start, but it's a whole lot easier to change, little by little what you're already doing, versus give you a whole new concept and have you freak out over it. So keeping track is super important. Now, what MyFitnessPal is going to tell you to do is based on a very simple, basic algorithm, and it's not going to be appropriate for what your goal is. Ladies, if your MyFitnessPal goal tells you that you're eating 1,200 calories a day and you weigh more than 98 pounds, we need to talk, because that is completely inappropriate. 1,200 calories, as I talked about 2 weeks ago, is the least amount of calories a human being should be eating to not have severe consequences from malnutrition, right? So where that came around, that 1,200 calories, oh my gosh, I'm going on a diet, that was appropriate, that makes absolutely no sense. And really also be careful, no offense to doctors, because I have some doctors that are my good friends. I have doctors that are clients of mine. They're wonderful people and they do a great job. So please don't take this the wrong way. But when doctors only get 19.6 average hours of nutrition education, and then they come out with things like the HCG diet, I have a problem with that, because that's not enough calories for anyone. Even someone who is morbidly obese should not be eating that few of calories. What it's going to do is crash your metabolism. So, it has to be appropriate for who you are and where you are. So when it comes to MyFitnessPal, make sure that you know what your goal is and work with someone who actually knows about nutrition, so that they can guide you in the right amount of the micronutrients. And by the way, if you're putting it on your phone and you can only see the calories, if you turn your phone this direction, guess what? All those micronutrients pop up at the bottom. I know, I tell my clients that and they're like, oh my gosh, something new. Because those micronutrients are important. I'm also interested to see how many grams of sugar my clients are eating, because sometimes it's very surprising. There is sugar in everything and people don't realize it till they start paying attention. Wow, people are getting, really high amounts of sugar and can't figure out why their body isn't allowing them to drop. So we talked about that macros matter, the quality of calories matter. Guys, shop the outside of the grocery store. Whole, fresh food. I understand that not everybody can afford to buy crazy stuff, but you can get smart. Come on, I had 5 kids. There's a time that I had to work real smart when it came to grocery shopping, because I couldn't afford anything. But if you buy chicken's fairly reasonable. A little bit of tuna is a great option. So just do your homework and know what to get. But shop the outside of the grocery store, the fresh produce, lean meats. anything inside is going to be boxed. It's going to be processed. Even things like lean cuisine, guys, first of all, those taste like cardboard. And number two, they're high in sodium, and good grief, they're high in crap, chemicals, additives, preservatives. What do you think those things do when they hit your body? Do you think you just, go to the bathroom and get rid of them? No, your body goes, oh, holy crap, I don't know what to do with this. This is potentially dangerous. And your body goes, oh, I'll just store it. So they end up storing it in body fat. Now, down the road, when you decide, hey, I'm going to lose some weight, I'm going to burn some of this fat off, all of those toxins, as your fat cells empty, come recirculating through your body again. And now you have to flush them out. So again, part of being smart when it comes to trying to be healthy and eating well is don't try to get where you're going too fast, because if you do, you're going to have some multiple negative side effects. Number one, those toxins are going to come back around, right? And if they're all flooding your body at the same time, you get really, really sick, okay? Because your body has to deal with them again, all over again, right? Number two, if you try to do it too fast, all of a sudden your skin can't keep up with your body shrinking, right? Because it has to kind of shrink with it. It has to reattach the tissue to your muscles. And so keep in mind, your body can't bounce back that fast. So that's why you see dramatic weight loss, and all of a sudden they have all this excess skin that possibly has to be removed by surgery, which, do what you can on your own and then fix what you can't, right? That's my concept on that. So think lifestyle versus short term. That's going to be a much, much better option, because again, whatever you're doing now, you have to do forever. So why not get that done right from the get-go? Sorry, my daughter's walking in here and totally distracting me at the moment, so she kind of needs to go away. Make nutritional needs your priority, right? If you are always focused on, okay, I'm trying to lose weight, I'm trying to burn excess calories, blah, 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 you're not even putting the right nutrients in your body. You need those different nutrients, and you need the vitamins and minerals in order to be at your healthiest. So that should be your first focus, is how healthy, what do you need? Do you need an energy source? Do you need muscle build? Those kind of things. Tracking your food is important. You don't have to do it forever. You don't have to do it for always. But until you know what your body needs and you know how to meet those needs, that's going to be important. And on top of that, if you do not know the difference between hunger and hunger, okay, because there is a difference. There is some mental and emotional hunger. We usually call that cravings. There's a difference, and it might take you a while to actually figure that out. I highly recommend that you actually track when you have an intense desire for comfort food. Mine comes when I'm stressed out. I tend to want to reach for the M&Ms. We all know that caramel M&Ms are crack. So if you're feeling like you need comfort food, it's more of a mental, or we call it a phantom hunger, because a physical hunger is a true, like you feel tight in your stomach, your body will actually physically tell you that you need more nutrition. That's not a bad thing. That's your metabolism telling you, hey, I need food. So the downside is just feed it with good food. That's the problem. So know the difference. The most that you can cut out processed food and sugar, the better off that you are. The foods today are designed for you to be addicted to them. The companies want you to come back and purchase those products again. So they have the optimum amount of taste that's perfect so that you want more of it. So you'll come back and eat it over and over and over again. I could say more about that today, but let's just leave it there that, processed food and sugar, refined sugars, tend to be addicting. They actually release dopamine in the brain. So your body goes, oh, I like that. It's a feel-good hormone. So, in order to unaddict yourself from that, you're going to have some withdrawals from that as well. Be aware. And I've watched some people really recently who've been really trying to go off of sugar altogether. And they know what I'm talking about when they have the headaches. And it's seriously, there is actual physical withdrawals from that. And my last tip for you is, take it one step at a time. I get it, guys. In a world where everything is instant, we have instant food, we have instant communication, we have instant movies. You can, hey, I want to watch this, a click of a button, and you've got it. You can't undo 3 decades worth of treating yourself in an unhealthy way in 3 months. It's going to take time. I highly recommend you take pictures along the way, because when you don't feel like you're seeing results, you can side by side those pictures and really see what physical changes are being made. It makes a big difference. You won't be able to tell. You see yourself in the mirror every day. But if you take those pictures, that's what I look for. I don't even necessarily, the only reason I need to know my clients' weights is so I can do their body fat percentage. Other than that, I'm looking at what their body looks like. I'm looking at how what's their strength. I look at progress in a totally different way. But all in all, that's not going to happen overnight. Progress is progress. We have to retrain our brains to look at it as such. So when it comes to diets, like I said, there's a time and a place, not a whole great one. But again, if it's a temporary goal that you have and you know you have it in control, that's fine. But for the average woman or the average man that really wants to be healthier, look better, be leaner, a diet is not your best option. Change your overall lifestyle to do a little bit better. Eat a little bit better, move a little bit more, do some strength training. Guys, muscle is a natural fat burner, right? I like muscle. It was one thing I found that I'm good at when it comes to athletics. Do those things so that you see, it's a consistency. By the way, there's a really, really great book, and I don't know if I've got it sitting here somewhere, called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Super great book. For those of you who like to read, I highly recommend it. And it talks about that those that are at the top didn't just appear there one day. They've had consistency of doing the right things day in and day out over time till all of a sudden we see all of a sudden this big, hey, I'm at the top. You don't see the iceberg, the whole iceberg underneath the tip that's sticking out the top of the water. They've been working on it a long time. When it comes to being really healthy overall and for the lifetime, it's those little things, the little habits that you create day in and day out that are going to get you where you want to go. So you guys can do this. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't do guilt. It's not healthy. I would know. You can do it. Look at it as something that is a journey, not a destination. So hopefully that helps. I'm very opinionated, but it is what it is. I've done enough research to kind of sometimes I can't believe that some of the garbage that's still out there, people actually believe. So, it is what it is. Please leave a comment below if you have any questions or if you'd like some more information. You can either leave a comment below or you can message me, direct message through Facebook. You can also email me at melissa@fillmorefitness.com. Other than that, you guys, until next time. Oh, by the way, we'll be doing another edition of Meals with Melissa Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. No, I'm not the best cook ever, but I'm going to do the best I can to teach you some easy ways to get some healthy foods in. Until then, have a good night. Happy Valentine's Day.